Oh, I've been recording. 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Oh,
so
Jesus, you haven't been recording?
Oh.
Oh, God.
You would be recording. You're such a record.
How dare you?
Oh.
Hey, I'm Joe.
I'm Ken.
I'm Batman.
And I'm Dan. What?
And we're the Rewinders Podcast, rewinding and punching bad guys in the face to see if they hold up. And this time, we took our grappling hook and slowly descended in the background of a scene to show the audience we were there, but the crime people couldn't see us because they were watching Batman. Did that work?
Well, at least talking about him.
Or we shot our grappling hook out of our car so we could turn a corner fast into talking about Batman.
At a point in the vehicle that would not provide that much support for a sharper turn.
I was physically angry watching that scene, but we'll get to that later.
Not sure physics approves of that moment, but
I thought it was fine.
maybe it does. I don't know. Anyway, this was Batman, the 1989 version.
Not the Robert Pattinson version.
No, not the one that no one has seen yet, but it's out now?
No, it's not out yet.
Is it?
Next week?
It's coming out soon. Who knows?
Okay.
It's coming out.
Another take on him. 'Cause we can't let him go.
So who has some kind of history? I'm assuming most of us have a history of watching this when we were younger.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Younger.
Like yesterday.
This was a very, 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 very worn VHS.
This was a VHS that was rented many times.
I want to say I was probably a teen, maybe an adult already before I saw this, which is wiggity whack.
I was like 4 or 5, maybe. It's crazy the difference.
Yeah, this was the first movie that I went to go watch using the money out of my pockets that I had. I think I was 9 when I went to go see it. My brother and I were just biking around. We saw it was being shown downtown at the movie theater, and we're like, go see Batman. And then we did. And no one stole our bikes, and we didn't have locks for our bikes.
So you mean the good old days, the days that Ken made fun of in Stand By Me, where people didn't steal your bikes.
Apparently.
Population density. Bikes were stolen back then and thrown in the slough just like these days, but there's less people to steal bikes, so they would steal less bikes.
Yeah, if people would just stop having so many goddamn babies, those babies would stop stealing bikes.
Baby bike stealers.
Exactly.
It sounds like an interesting movie. I'd be down for that. Although I'd want them stealing Harleys or something. Just babies riding around on fucking motorcycles.
As long as it's not CG.
Yes, no, practical effects all the way. Practical effects, Foley, everything.
Oh,
we
God.
need this.
We don't, though. Babies can't reach a clutch.
Well, no, it'd be like in the movies where like a baby's on the ground pressing the gas pedal and another baby's up top driving the steering wheel.
Oh.
Yeah, there'd be a baby
Yes.
popping the clutch and there'd be a baby on each handlebar shifting their weight to turn.
There's like 3 babies per pant leg.
Yeah.
5 babies in the trench coat.
Exactly.
2 or 3 babies in each arm.
Exactly. Four babies in a trench coat going to see an R-rated movie. That's we need more of that. Oh God. So yeah, 1989. That was a year after I was born.
That was the year I was born.
So-
What month did it come out?
Must have been the summer if I was biking around. And
I'm gonna say June, but I know
watch
I'm
it.
wrong. Just because almost everything comes out in June.
June 23rd, 1989.
Oh, holy crap! I was right.
Look at that.
Nice.
Almost
Nice.
6 months after I was born.
That's fantastic. Wow.
And you waited how long to watch it?
I was like 10 before my parents let me see it.
Wow. I was like 5 or 6, and I don't know when Returns came out. Was that 92?
Return was 92.
I remember very fondly going to see Batman Returns in theaters. I don't think I was scared, more so. I think I was bored, because I just didn't... It was like my 3rd or 4th movie in a theater, and I kept asking if I could go back to Grandpa's house. So my dad actually took me out right before the freaking movie got to like the middle scene, and I went back to my grandparents' house. And then I was bored at my grandparents' house, and they called the theater. And I remember my dad came and brought me back because they somehow got a hold of him in the theater. And he brought me back right at the end scene with the penguin and everything. It's just like, I feel bad to this day about that. So I don't know. Like, they probably amped me up so much on the original Batman, and then to take me to the theater and have that travesty take place, I still feel terrible.
Well, we're not talking about Return.
I know. The original, ironically for me, is actually somehow more scary seeing it again than the sequel is, which is funny because the sequel gets more of a rap for being more violent and dark. But I'll get into that a little bit later, but that's the interesting thing after watching this again. It's just, I can't understand where some of these comments are coming from. I can't wait to get into it.
Well, I will say that it's probably simply because the penguin has black goo coming out of his mouth and is eating fish. That's enough to push people over the edge. Like, this one didn't have any gross out humor like that.
I'm biting my tongue until we get into it. I want so badly to just start steamrolling things, but I'm going to wait.
Okay.
So, if you have not seen the 1989 Batman, which seems weird, but it's very possible these days, it kind of goes like this. There's a dude. He's a bad guy. He's crazy. But not really that crazy, because he was crazier in other movies than he was in this one. But he's out there doing crime for like a Gotham mob, and if you don't know what Gotham is, it's like New York City but different,
Dirtier.
kind of like Metropolis.
Oh, Gotham is dark. Metropolis is bright and colorful, and
No, Metropolis is across the river.
where Gotham is dark and depressing.
Yeah.
And like constantly overcast.
I think Joe's talking about the old sci-fi Metropolis film. Is that what you're getting at, Joe? The old sci-fi Metropolis movie?
It definitely shares a look with the old Metropolis.
Yeah, I could see that 100%.
It did come to mind.
100%.
And this guy then has a man in a bat costume who can't save him from falling into a vat of highly toxic stuff. And then he apparently, quote unquote, dies. And then this highly toxic vat of stuff apparently drains out into the water around Gotham, unexplained. And then he comes out of the water permanently white, permanently with green hair, permanently with a huge smile, and then decides, you know what? I wasn't crazy enough. I'm going to be more crazy and do crazier things and kill more people. And then the guy in the bat suit basically chucks him off of a church. Oh, yeah, and there's some reporters in the middle that are kind of boring.
Oh, yeah. Joe, I'd like to comment on the vat. I would like to imagine that the vat is full of all the negative comments from the trolls that were angry when they heard that Michael Keaton was cast as Batman.
And they were right.
That's what they did with all those comments. Oh, no, I will fight you. But anyways, we'll go. Yeah, this is Batman.
George Clooney is my Batman.
God. I guess he's better than the wooden Val Kilmer. I watched Tombstone for the first time 2 days ago and was blown away by how good it was, so I don't not like Val Kilmer, just I don't like him as Batman.
Yeah, Val Kilmer's great. Val Kilmer, Batman, problems.
What is it that you like about this Batman movie?
Oh my god, the aesthetics, like hitting the nail on the freaking head. When I think of Gotham City, I think of this and I think of the animated series. That is Gotham City to me. It's a living, breathing, crazy-ass Art Deco city that's had so many revisions on top of revisions. It's a living, breathing city because it's a building with building pieces on top of it that obviously wasn't torn down. They just keep adding crap to things. And it's just, it looks like the city has gone through how many years of just expansion without actually the foresight of what's going anywhere. They just keep piling crap on top of each other. It's dark, it's seedy, it's disgusting, it's in some spots nice and pretty and beautiful, but it's Gotham. And I think that's the big thing that I really found with this viewing is the other Batman movies, they really tones it down to make Gotham really kind of feel more like Chicago or like New York. And I get it because that's where, it's filmed, Chicago, or not Chicago, where was it? Not Madison. Milwaukee. I swear I'm from Wisconsin. I feel like Gotham being a character of Batman has been slowly eroded and split from the movies as time's gone on, and that really upsets me.
Have you seen the trailers for the Robert Pattinson Batman?
I have, and that's what's got me excited about that movie if I had to actually say something about it. Because at least the city feels like a character again. It has not felt like a character since, I would argue, Batman Forever. It just doesn't feel the same. Like, this movie, the aesthetics were standing. I mean, yes, there's a lot of matte paintings. Yes, there's a lot of things that still don't shore up nowadays. But this is this is the, like, chef's kiss. This is the de facto Gotham City when I think about Batman.
I'll take a matte painting and a model of a building and blowing them up over CG almost any day, because
Agreed.
it has reality.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Especially
built into
1989 CG.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Although,
That's not CG, that's hand painted.
True.
Those searchlights are hand painted.
I was talking about when the Batmobile puts the shields on. It looks fine, but because it's so simple.
That's probably stop motion.
Oh, what year was Escape from New York? Because that wasn't CG for the flight scene. That was all,
That was peak visual
80-something.
graphics right there.
Well, I mean, look at 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, yeah.
None of that's CG.
Yeah, the stuff they pulled off is incredible.
Most things feel more rooted and attainable for you to experience when it's not CG.
Yes.
We haven't gotten to that point yet where CG fools us.
It gets
And
close.
that's because, yeah, it gets close. And I don't care how many more muscles are moving on a dinosaur now, or saliva, strands going between teeth. Movies in the 90s that were just figuring shit out with CGI did it right, where they sprinkled it in where it was necessary, but continued to use practical effects elsewhere. That's why it looked so damn good and continues to still hold up. New movies, you replace everything with CG, you eventually just have actors standing around on green screen with nothing to do. It's not fun for anybody at that point. I mean, shit, Peter Jackson made Ian McKellen cry on the set of The Hobbit. It's not fun when you're just sitting alone in a green screen. It takes all the joy out of acting.
I'm sure there's some people who enjoy working alone.
Yeah, probably Bruce Willis. He loves collecting paychecks, that's for sure.
But on the same topic of aesthetics, the going into the movie, I remember the Joker aesthetic just being
Cartoony.
weird and kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But going into it this time, yeah, the cartoony definitely showed itself. He did a lot of like posing. I'm like, man, no, this really is a great looking Joker. Whether or not he acted like the Joker all the time is up for debate,
Yeah.
but he looked great.
There's a total reason why Heath Ledger and Mark Hamill base their Jokers off of Jack Nicholson's Joker.
I mean, yeah, he really set the stage. He took it from being goofy, clowny 60s Joker and made it more cynical and daring. And I think for me, the point where it really shines, because yeah, there's a lot of good scenes with the Joker in this film. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to get more into it with the negative stuff, but for me, a majority of the film, I didn't like the way it was shot. I didn't like the cinematography, but the scenes with Jack Nicholson, the scenes with the Joker, every single scene he was in just basically commanded attention where you had to stop and watch. My favorite standout scene out of all of them, though, is I again with Tim Burton and his amazing commercials like Beetlejuice. I freaking loved that entire ad with Joker hawking his new and improved beauty products.
His poison?
Yes. Everything about that commercial was just it was just Joker in a nutshell. It was beautiful. It was fantastically done. I love the humor in it. I love the tongue-in-cheek, all of it. It was so freaking good.
And that certainly nails the chaotic nature of the Joker more than him walking into a museum and breaking a bunch of shit. Like, that's just...
Yes.
That was a weird scene to me.
It's like, aha, he's chaotic because he's destroying art for the reason of just destroying art. But when you have him just being a goofy bastard on a TV and talking about... yeah, it's a lot different. It's a lot different.
Right.
It's more subtle. It's not like he's, going up to a carriage on the street and stealing a lollipop from a baby and then looking at the camera and saying, I'm bad. It's not like that.
One is just destructive, and the other one is sowing chaos.
Yes.
That Batman off-screen shuts down a few scenes later.
Yeah.
I figured it out. Here's what not to do. Although, the in-between time, seeing the people on TV without makeup, hilarious.
Yes, dude with zits all over his face because he hasn't been showering or doing whatever because they don't know where the stuff's coming from.
I also like seeing cops wearing leather outfits.
Yeah.
For some reason that makes me chuckle so much. Like, it's goofy.
It's
and I
goofy,
like
but
it.
it's a cool aesthetic. Like, it's not just your typical, like, black and blue. It fits the Art Deco crazy noir style of Batman in this timeline. You got Tommy guns. You got that kind of outfit.
This timeline doesn't give you an exact time, like, where this is set, because it feels like sometimes it's set in the, like, 60s,
Yes.
late 60s, early 70s, and then it jumps up into the 80s, and you're like, wait, what is this? When are we?
Exactly. I've heard the exact same thing echoed about the animated series. The animated series is timeless because it looks like it's straight up the freaking 50s, but there's computers and everything. You cannot tell between these versions of Batman's when the hell it takes place because Gotham is just in a league of its own. It shows how well everybody creatively went into making Gotham a living, breathing character. It's not in a time. It's not in a location that you know of. It's just this fantastic place that you'd love to go visit.
But you know what this Gotham's missing? Bat credit cards.
Ooh, we're going to go there.
No, you're right. Like, not introducing silliness like that definitely makes this movie stand alone. It makes it its own little bubble of time, so...
Exactly. I mean, other than, obviously, Prince being the entire soundtrack, I don't think you'd be able to pinpoint when specifically this movie is supposed to take place if you were able to remove that from the movie entirely. There's nothing else in here. There's no ads. There's no, like, brands, anything crazy in here that sets it apart. You don't have, like, old beer bottles or old beer cans, things like that. You don't have old cigarettes. It's just this wacky, magical place. It's pure movie magic, and I love that.
It's very similar to when you see a science fiction movie from the late 70s, early 80s that came out of the UK. They have these big industrial era kind of dark aesthetics because everything is gloomy and whatever in the future. Mm-hmm. And it's very similar to this, and I really love that aesthetic, and that's why when I started watching this movie, I just was like, it doesn't matter that you can tell it's a matte painting. I don't care. I love the aesthetic.
Oh, for sure. Like, Ace Chemicals looks so good.
Axis?
I applaud the team.
Because it's a unique shape.
It is. It's such a unique shape. Or Axis, yeah, sorry. Ace Chemicals.
And there's something to be said about using matte paintings in there. It actually does add to the noir-y aesthetic of the movie.
And it is kind of a cartoony movie, so
yes,
having backgrounds that aren't exactly looking real, to me, is okay.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You have your standards. You have ones that are obviously real. You have the Wayne Manor, things like that. You have establishing set pieces where they're inside buildings, and, you know, that's all fine and good. But it makes it that much more forgivable when you have the crazy-ass matte paintings in the background, is because everything in every scene is breathing so much life into what you're seeing. It's great.
That kind of aesthetic is why I went into Sky Captain with such high hopes.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
I think I made it 10-15 minutes in.
Yeah, I have never finished that movie.
It was such a pretty looking movie, such a high hopes, and oh my god, it was so boring.
Kind of like
so
Sucker
bad.
Punch. That was a real glossy movie that looked like it was going to be incredible, and holy crap.
I love Sucker Punch.
Gorgeous, but holy shit, is that
gorgeous
gut
with
punch.
zero substance.
It was gross.
But anyways, yeah, God, I could gush about Gotham in this movie and just how much it lent to the Batman animated series, because Batman the animated series for me is the de facto Batman.
Followed promptly by Batman Beyond.
Yes, followed promptly by Batman Beyond. Those two series are like everything to me. And it's not nostalgia speaking on those, because I have gone back and rewatched the animated series and Beyond several times in the last couple of years, and everything still holds up. There's still episodes, obviously, you know, they suck, but overall, when you take the entire picture, it's so faithful to what the character is, and just the execution is so well done that it will continue to live on. And it's also spawned so many important things. I mean, Batman the Animated Series came from this movie, and that's where we got, obviously, Harley Quinn and things like that. So many spin-offs and things came out of that, too. It's just, I love this movie and Batman Returns and Batman the Animated Series, because these three things together, I feel like they nailed it in a way that hasn't been done since.
I think a Harley Quinn could have really made this movie a ton better.
Yeah, I could see that. I'd like to have Joker having, you know, like a side piece other than a tortured girlfriend. But,
other than the girl he's going to kill next.
yeah.
Although that is what Harley Quinn is often.
The only problem with all of this is that the Tim Burton Batman movies are not canon.
I know.
What?
They are not.
Is the 1966 canon?
Yes.
1966 Batman is what I grew up on. That and the 1966 TV series, that's a thing that existed. That's a lot of what I grew up on. So that's the aesthetic I was going into it. But then, yeah, the Batman cartoon definitely formed a much better feel for the Batman franchise for me. But really, watched a lot of that 1966 Batman. So much fun. So
Campy.
ridiculous and dumb.
good campy.
Campy.
That's what the original Batman series was just that kind of camp.
And they tried to return to that campiness with
Schumacher.
Either way, Schumacher, yeah. He made 2 films that was going back into camp, and it was like,
time and a place, bud. We already had gritty Batman. We can't really move on from that too much.
Well, they're trying to do it again.
Yeah, but the Robert Pattinson Batman is gonna it's not an origin Batman story. It's gonna be existing. Like we're not getting like something that was this, like the events of this movie or something that brought Batman to the place that he is. No, he's already in the place that he is, and we're just along for the ride.
I like that. I like that a lot. And it's the same thing with Spider-Man. It's like, how many times are you going to show Uncle Ben dying? It's like, we get it. That's what happened. It's the same thing with this. You don't need to continuously show the death of...
But they didn't kill Uncle Ben in this one, in the new ones. It's worse.
I know.
It's
they got a new
worse.
twist.
What?
I know.
Spoilers.
Yep. Anyways, that's one thing I loved about this movie. You open it up, a kid, his parents, walking around the street looking all scared and shit, and the first thought in your head is, that's weird. That doesn't look like a really wealthy, affluent Thomas Wayne. Like, this looks like a bumbling idiot. He doesn't look like somebody who's got shit tons of money. And then they pull the trick on you where it's not them.
They say his name is Harold. I'm like, Harold? That's not
exactly
Harold Wayne. What the hell?
They pull a fast one on you. They think you're going to cap off the movie right in the beginning with that death scene, and it's like, no, this is just Batman coming in.
But this is the first one. Can you do expectation subversion when there is no expectation?
Well, I mean, they had the 60s series. They had the 60s movie.
You know the background of Batman. Like, if you've read any of the comics.
Okay, sure. So if you read any of the comics, yes, and I'm betting that's the people they're probably planning on being at this movie.
Yeah.
However, this was a giant movie, especially for the time when there were no superhero movies being made and superhero movies being taken seriously, for sure.
Are you saying the Superman series was not taken seriously?
I'm saying Iron Man could have been a little bit better. I always forget about Superman because he's boring.
I understand why people like Superman, and I don't particularly not like Superman, but for me, yeah, it's the same thing, Ken. It's boring. It's when you have somebody who's essentially impossibly, invincible, it takes a lot out of it. And I get he's not invincible. I get there's so many heartbreaking things in the background. Yes, his planet's been destroyed and everything else. It's just, it's not my cup of tea. I don't know.
The same people who have fangirl things for Superman are the same people who hate Captain Marvel for the same reason. Oh, she's a Mary Sue. Nothing can beat her because she always has something. Well, yeah, same with Superman. They're both not an inspired superhero. But anyway.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah, I guess there was Superman before that. But like there's not much in the way of superheroes being taken seriously. I'm thinking more along the lines of that Iron Man movie they made early 80s.
Yes.
Oof.
Yes. I was wondering if you're going to go there.
Or the Fantastic Four movie that they made.
No, that's not. That movie is forever doomed to just not get a good one. I don't know what's going on with that series. But anyways, I am going to say this, and I will die on this hill. In the same vein as Spider-Man, in which I just recently had a conversation with a friend, I feel that Tobey Maguire was the absolute best Peter Parker. Andrew Garfield was hands down the best Spider-Man.
Yep.
And then Tom Holland was a great mix between the two. I feel like for Batman, this is my absolute first choice for Bruce Wayne.
Oh, for sure.
I feel like Michael Keaton as Bruce Wayne is incredible. I wouldn't say the same thing as Batman. I do like him as Batman. He's not my favorite Batman, but he's still good. But I will say that if anybody tried to challenge me on who's the best Bruce Wayne, I would throw down for Keaton in a heartbeat.
I feel like for me, it's a real toss-up between, oh my god, I'm having the biggest brain fart right now, between Michael Keaton and
West.
who is this recently Batman, not Robert Pattinson, not Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
Between those two.
Christian Bale I felt was too serious. Like, they had a couple goofy scenes where it's like, oh, he's smarmy because he's got girls on his arms. It lost sight of that so quickly.
Yeah, it did.
And it really did become he was Batman even when he wasn't in the costume. This really feels like Michael Keaton is Bruce Wayne when he's not in the costume, because he's just charming, sophisticated guy. He's got charisma. People like him. And then when he puts the suit on, he's a hard ass. I mean, he doesn't change his voice as much, but yeah, exactly. It's just, there's an obvious change between the two. The suit comes off, he's one person. The suit goes on, he's a different person. With Christian Bale's Batman, I love that trilogy so much, but I do feel like after a very, very tiny amount of time, it became the same character regardless of whether or not
No,
he's
after
wearing
Dark
the suit.
Knight. Like, after the first movie.
Yes, after Dark Knight.
Immediately after the first movie. Like, in the first movie, there was enough, and then the subsequent films, you couldn't really tell the difference between the two characters, and I don't know if that was intentional.
Yeah, I don't know.
I think what they might have been going for, and maybe this is a comic book thing, and I'm just going to make some stuff up real quick. When Bruce Wayne returns to Gotham, he feels like he has to fill in this swarmy billionaire role, and as it goes on, he slowly moves away from being the playboy and more into his just being rich and supporting people who can help out the city through his money sort of thing. It did seem like he was trying to he wanted to get rid of Batman through that entire series. He didn't want to keep on being Batman forever. He wanted the city to be able to take care of itself.
Well, he went to Thomas Lennon, his doctor, and he's like, man, what are you doing that your body looks like it's 72, but you're only 35? Whatever the line was. It was funny. I liked it because I like Thomas Lennon.
Now, in the same vein, I don't know how I feel about this, and I am interested what your guys' take are, but I feel like nostalgia's driving this one. I want to say that Michael Gough is my favorite Alfred.
Oh, God. Yeah. I mean,
was going to say.
He is such the epitome of Alfred, and I believe that's how... God, who played Alfred and Christian Bale? I should know this. Michael Caine.
Michael Caine.
Based a lot.
The Tale of Two Michaels.
Morgan Freeman? Morgan Freeman was like his Q.
He's Fox. Lucius Fox, yeah.
But if I remember correctly, Caine based a lot of his Alfred mannerisms on the Burton film Alfred and a bunch of the comics, because Caine read a bunch of the Batman comics when he was younger.
I thought he helped create. Oh, Caine! I got lost in my own head there for a second. I thought we were talking about Bob Kane. I was like, no shit, he read Batman. He helped create it. And I am saying very vindictively, helped. Because that jackass didn't come up with it on his own. But anyways. This Alfred is, to me, second only to the one from the animated series, because the animated series Alfred's badass who, he'll fly in the Batwing to come grab Batman and things like that. He's always looking out for Bruce, but it's the same
There's
thing.
so much more depth to that Alfred. Like, he's more than a secondary character.
Exactly. There's a lot more time to bake him in.
Yeah. Oh, there is so much that I could go off on with Alfred, man. Like, there's... Oh, I can't, though. We don't have time.
This movie explores too many characters, though.
It does. It really does.
So you don't have time for a good Alfred.
Can any of you tell me whether or not this is the only movie where Alfred actually buttles?
No, he's pretty good at buttling all the way through. All the way through, he's a good buttle. That's what I like about Michael Gough's take on it, because he's not only a butler, but he's also a parental figure for Bruce, and that really comes through, shining through with his acting. Michael Caine was close, yes. I liked the nurturing moments that he had, but Michael Gough, to me, just more so feels like he's trying to be a parent for Bruce while still trying to look out for his interests.
Yeah.
Like, he'd be the first one to come into his room and scold him to turn the TV down, but then he'd be outside, fixing up the Batmobile so he could go kick ass. Like, I love this guy. I love him so much as Alfred.
And he was also the only interesting part of any of the dates that Batman was on.
Yes. Yes. I actually love that scene. I love the scene where Bruce Wayne and Vicky have to go into the kitchen because the table's too damn long, and it just turns into this more peaceful, more connected, down-to-earth setting between them and Alfred, just sitting at a table laughing about shit. It's a nice character take, and again, that's so well done between Alfred and Bruce. I love these two actors as those roles. Are you trying to say Bob was one too many characters here, Joe?
There are a lot of forgettable characters in this movie.
Oh, God.
If they aren't...
Eckert?
The reporter that no one cares about.
Yeah, the one that's jealous because Bruce Wayne's getting Vicky. He thought by acting like a smarmy jackass he'd get in her pants eventually, but here she is falling for someone who's nice to her. Just terrible character. It kind of reminded me of Ellis from Die Hard a little bit, except for he didn't get killed. So
I'm glad they didn't try to make us care about Knox. Like, put him in a situation where he might die. Like, because you're like, oh, okay, this is life.
Just live in
Whatever.
Gotham, let him die.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the movie doesn't even flesh out the fact that the Joker killed hundreds, if not thousands of people downtown before Batman could pull the balloons away.
Yeah, there's that. Oh man, the scene where the scene where he just comes out and starts gunning everything down on the staircase of the court. It's just like that's a great part too. Like I loved all those individual scenes and how it shows like we never really got to address the death count, the toll of what the Joker was actually doing to Gotham, other than just here's this goofy man that Batman's got to
But
stop.
Gotham doesn't care. Death is incarnate.
And that's where I was going to go, is that it's a toll that isn't a big deal to Gotham because Gotham has so many people in it, and this is such a regular affair that they're like, whatever, a few hundred people died. This is Wednesday.
That is so unbelievably true, and that is such good freaking black comedy right there. It's just, oh man.
And we never got to see a Billy D. Harvey Dent turn into Two-Face.
Which pisses me
That would
off.
have been amazing.
Oh, that would have been good.
Billy D was underused.
Well, he actually sued later on.
What did he sue over?
He sued because it was in the contract that he would eventually play Two-Face. And when they cast Tommy Lee Jones, he fucking like flew off the handle. So yeah, I mean, I would be pissed. He waited how many years, and then they just decided to cast Tommy Lee Jones out of nowhere?
Would have been such a cool Two-Face. But all we got was Harvey Dent, which wasn't bad, but was definitely a tertiary character in this movie.
Yeah, too many characters to flesh out who Harvey Dent is. It's just dangling for people who know who he is. And due to the extraordinary length at which we talked about the movie Batman, we will take a break here to pause and continue the conversation in 2 weeks when we return to Rewind again.